Hello. So we're here. We're back here on our next episode of Binge Watch. I am Gig Patta. I'm an interviewer at LRM Online, and I'm here joined by the guest of. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Emmanuel Gomez, also known as just Manny. I writer for LRMOnline.com, as well as their half of the social media managing team.
So yeah. So in this episode, we're actually talking about the Umbrella Academy season 2, which to me, I was anticipating this. After watching season 1, I just completely loved season 1. So I waited a very, very long time for season 1, and season 2 finally arrived. And because season 1 ended on a cliffhanger, what are your feelings, Manny?
I thought season 1 was great. It ended, like you said, on a cliffhanger, but it told a complete story. Did a really good job at introducing us to a wide variety of characters and just an entire idea of a separate entity that kind of takes care of time and just the manipulation of the things that happen on Earth.
Now this is technically a spoilers review, so we're going to go into some details on some of the stuff we do like and what we don't like in season 2. But first of all, let's give our own overall impression. What's your overall impression for season 2?
Season 2, I thought a little better than season 1, just because I think with the overall popularity of the first season, I think they took a little bit more chances at dropping little hints and Easter eggs at things that can possibly happen in the future. And I really appreciated that. Plus, once now that we know the characters fairly well, we see them develop a little bit further. Especially, I like some of the things they did with Luther, and then also Five is just a machine, and more than anything, I think the dad, Sir Reginald, there's just so much mystery behind him, and I appreciated just being led little by little, not given too much, and at the same time, letting us want more. All within telling a complete story for a season.
Well, I have a little bit of a different impression. I think season 1 was better than season 2. My perspective was because I actually liked the discovery of season 1 with all the characters, and for season 2, it almost it seemed like they tried to match with season 1, but and I didn't feel that they managed to accomplish that because all the stories were going in different directions. And what we're going to talk about all of that. And there were some scenes that I really enjoy, some scenes and some characters that I really enjoyed in season 1 that was better than season 2. And we're going to talk about that too. But obviously, the nice part is that we have disagreements, and that's going to be great. But I'm gonna break the ice first on why I didn't think season 2 was as good as season 1 was because season 1 was all about the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 is all about the apocalypse.
Yeah.
That to me was annoying, and let me explain why that was annoying to me. Was because it's just like watching a Star Wars movie and it introduces the Death Star, and when they introduced the Death Star for the first time, it was like, this is awesome. Then they introduced the Death Star again in Return of the Jedi, and then you're like, okay, we could work with that. And then what do? They introduce it 2 more times in the last trilogy, and after that, it's like, okay, you know what? You need to stop with this Death Star because otherwise I'm going to quit Star Wars. So what did they do with the Umbrella Academy? Apocalypse season 1, Apocalypse season 2. But obviously, I'm not saying it's actually a bad thing because it's not the same apocalypse. They actually did it differently, and they did it. Steve Blackman, the showrunner, I believe he actually did it well. I was just basically looking for something completely different, but this one is an apocalypse, and also what do they call it? Time jumps. I don't want to say time travel, but it's actually time jumps. What do you think about the overall story arc in season 2?
Yeah, you're right. It is very similar, but I also felt like it would be tough not to address it, especially with the fact that Vanya had lost her memory. And you even hear some of the characters, they're even kind of annoyed by it. Luther says, of course, Vanya is the apocalypse, because she doesn't even, once again, she doesn't understand her powers. So now it's dealing with that problem, along with being stuck back in time, and dealing also with all the shenanigans of what is her name?
Who are you looking for?
The handler.
Oh, the handler. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, and then now also, instead of all of the siblings, kind of having to come together, they all have their own separate lives. I know I thought that I thought Klaus's kind of guru path was hilarious, and it was fun to see what him and Ben were doing throughout the season.
Okay, well, let's bring up each character first. So Vanya's story in season 1 was that she didn't even know she had powers, and everyone hid it from her, which I thought it was actually pretty interesting. Vanya in season 2, she forgot she had powers, and we're not going to get into specific details. And basically, she gets a sort of like a relationship with somebody that she has made it in the past. Did you like that story? Because I kind of felt that Ellen Page's Vanya was just kind of that was just there. Like, I found her character much more interesting in season 1 than in season 2. What do you think?
I agree with you. I felt like it was a little bit of been there, done that with her character. I would have liked to seen her maybe a little bit more growth from her, but just kind of with the fact that they reset her character for season 2, it bothered me a little bit, just because we've seen it, and I thought maybe they were going to take a different route with it. And then even when she meets up with some of her siblings, they still keep from her the fact that she was the catalyst for the first apocalypse, and as she's finding things out again, she kind of has a similar reaction to season 1. But the way it's handled afterwards, I thought was very clever, which I don't think we need to talk about it just yet. It's kind of, she almost kind of has like a monotone way of portraying Vanya. And
You mean Ellen Page?
Ellen Page, yeah, and it gets kind of, some of those scenes get a little bland and boring.
Yeah, I feel like out of the entire Umbrella Academy, she's the least likable character for it. But let's move on to Klaus and Ben, because Klaus and Ben, Klaus had a huge struggle with drugs, and Ben was kind of like on the sidelines in season 1. And I thought in season 1 they totally underutilized Ben, and Klaus, he was just like this really goofball. But like you mentioned before, he became like this guru, and I think that they actually developed the relationship between Klaus and Ben a lot better. So I will go ahead and agree with you. That was a good storyline. And even though Klaus was a guru, I have no idea. That just totally came out of left field to me. But I thought that was actually well done.
Yeah, it's always funny when you see a character that times travels and then takes pop culture material from the future and references it as his own. That's always fun. But yeah, I definitely agree that there's a really good growth in the relationship between Klaus and Ben, especially because they added the possession factor, where Ben's able to take control of Klaus's body for a time period and pretty much do what he wants. He's technically Klaus or Ben or both. I don't know what you want to call it. Then just later giving Ben a little bit of more active role in helping Vanya later on. I thought I really liked that, just because I was in season 1. I kind of was waiting for a little bit more from Ben's character. Maybe being able to reach out to some of them in a different way other than through Klaus. So I thought that was really well done. Not so sure how I felt about him trying to reach out to his boyfriend from the military. It got kind of creepy at some points. It wasn't too bad, but it was just funny, especially seeing the way his uncle reacted to him trying to stop him from going to the military. I mean, it's the wrong time and place.
Well, it was the Back to the Future type of idea, right? If you could change the past, it would change the future. That kind of stuff. And that's kudos to Steve Blackman again for carefully trying to think all this time stuff out. Let's talk about another character, Diego, played by David Castaneda. Where in the first season, he has sort of like this attitude, trying to solve crimes, and he had that relationship with that director that nobody cares about. That's why she died. But but in season 2, he's like obsessed on trying to prevent the John F. Kennedy assassination. I know that is actually an important storyline, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is because the second book of Umbrella Academy, which is called Dallas, this anthology of the comics is all about the JFK assassination. So I believe that they kind of kept that into the series. But to me, I don't know, Diego kind of obsessed, and then like after a while, I kind of got sick and tired of him like going through that motions throughout every single episode like a crazy guy just trying to stop the assassination. What's your opinion?
So my opinion is that I think more than anything he got overshadowed by Ritu Arya. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She
Who played Lila Pitts?
So you're putting them together. Although I thought he has he's a fun character with almost a machete type knives that he throws out. I will say, agreeing with you, that after a while the John F. Kennedy assassination obsession did get a little repetitive, and I was like, okay, this better pay off later, because we keep hearing about it episode or episode, and then it goes on and on and on. But he's a hothead, and just some of his actions when he's in the Mexican consulate and things like that, he's kind of fun. But I think his pairing with Lila kind of put him back in the shadows a little bit, because I thought she was excellent. I know we're probably going to talk to her about her a little bit later, but I think that's. I mean, it's not bad, because she's an important part of this season, but as he's kind of just doing his thing that's pretty stagnant throughout the season, she's evolving into something else, and you start to notice her a lot more, and then you kind of care a little bit less about him and more about what's going on with her.
Yeah, that's true. We will talk about that, because we still have the other half of the Umbrella Academy crew and their storylines to talk about. I guess let's talk about what Allison, played by Emmy Raver Lapnow, where in season 1, I thought she was underutilized in season 1, and then Vanya basically kind of sliced her throat, taking her powers away. In season 2, for some unknown reason, she kind of healed pretty fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Gaining her powers, and then she just starts a new family, which I thought was kind of weird, especially knowing that she has a daughter in the future. In that sense, and they try to make this like civil rights theme type of like this Martin Luther King activism, which I kind of understand, because JFK, civil rights, and all this kind of stuff. But personally, for some unknown reason, I felt like it was kind of off for like a show like this. Like it wasn't. I think it was like her character was just too serious, and everybody else was just too goofy and far-fetched, and her was sort of like trying to input like a Selma moment or something like that into a show like this. I don't know if you agree with me, but that's how I felt. It was sort of like it was just like fish out of water in its own way.
It's funny, because when I first saw what they were doing with it in the second season, I thought it was kind of clever. I was like, oh, the sibling with the power to make somebody do what you want.
Suggestion, yeah.
Suggestion is going to be part of a movement that needs a voice, and the character who had lost her voice in the first season is now going to be part of this movement. I agree with you that, and I did, I kind of also didn't want to say that because it feels like an unpopular opinion, maybe that I mean,
Oh, especially in times like this, yeah.
right. I just don't. I feel like it was almost forced. I don't think that it was necessary. Just because as it progressed, nothing really came out of it. Nothing that really affected the overall plot of the story really came um, from this movement that she was part of with her husband. I 100% agree with you though. I remember watching some of the first episodes where she has her house and everything, and I'm like, doesn't she have a daughter? Did she lose her memory also? There's something? Did I miss something? And no, I guess everybody must have missed that. Just because her daughter's not even brought up. I think in the entire season. Am I wrong?
Not until the final 2 episodes or something like that.
I must have.
When they're talking about going back to the future, and they remind her
Okay.
that she has a daughter, which
Uh,
which to me is kind of weird. Like
right.
if I went to the past and I didn't lose my memory, I would still remember my daughter in the future, right?
I'd be very vocal about trying to get back to her too.
Precisely. So I thought that plot line was kind of off.
It wasn't, and it wasn't that. And then yeah, she didn't really seem to have much to do either, as far as affecting the plot line. Just besides what she was doing in her personal life.
Yeah, and I'm hoping in season 3 she has a much bigger role than season 1 and season 2, because I feel like they didn't know what to do with her
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Who else do we have? We have Luther, played
Luther.
by Tom Hopper, which I thought he was. I thought in season 1 he was a very interesting character
Mm-hmm.
because he struggled to become a leader and all this kind of stuff. And then season 2, I wasn't sure what he was, because he's just like doing various odd end jobs, and then once he's not leader anymore, because we're going to talk about, I'm saving 5 for last because it seemed like 5 just like took control, and then all of a sudden Luther was just like, yeah, just there for the ride, just the muscle all of a sudden. But what was your impression of Luther in season 2?
Luther's sensitive, man. Like that guy is a roller coaster of emotions. One moment he's trying to fight his way out of a fight club or something. Another moment he's given up. Another moment he's in love again with Allison. I mean, just a whole range of emotions in that giant body. He was an entertaining character. I'll say that. I thought that when him and Elliot, played by Kevin Rankin, were sitting at home with the laughing gas. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, he another one of those characters that was just kind of all over the place. He seemed to be the middleman between bringing characters together. So that's kind of what I took him as.
Yeah, and I think now we're down to the main. To me, it's the main character, and the best highlight of season 2 is 5, which is played by Aidan Gallagher, and I'm kind of glad that they kind of like didn't wait too long to shoot between season 1 and season 2, because I would hate it where he was like a much smaller kid in season 1,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden he's like an adult in season 2. I mean, obviously with the time jumps, you could easily explain, his growth and all this kind of stuff. But I thought his story arc in season 1 and season 2 was the best. His character is the most interesting character out of this entire show. I think it's the most well developed, and I think they Steve Blackman, the showrunner, does a really good job doing that. But I think the problem is, if you focus too much on 5, then you start to lose all the other characters, because the problem with the show, in my opinion, is that it has too many characters. But that's not that's not because of the show. It's because of the comic books,
Right.
and introduce like a huge family. What do you like about 5 this season?
So 5 has so many different layers of personality, and and what makes him so interesting, I think, is that although he looks the youngest, he's actually the oldest, I believe, and he's even actually older than his older counterpart that he comes to face with this season. By I mean, just 14 days, but he's still older. Come on, but but you forget that because of the fact that he's in that body of a of a boy because of what happened in season 1. And so you don't expect certain things out of him. When Kate Walsh is the handler, makes a deal with him to take out the commission, the board members from the commission, I didn't expect that level of brutality, and then you get it, but then you realize, no, this guy's a seasoned assassin. He's had a lifetime of doing these things.
He's the best.
He's the best at it. Yeah, they mentioned that, and then but he's in this kid's body, so a lot of his actions don't necessarily match his physical self, but mentally he's there, and I appreciate the way that they give him that maturity, in compared to some of the other characters. Like you can especially see it when he's dealing with Luther or with his other his other brother, not Klaus, Klaus and Diego. Yeah, thank you.
Diego.
You can see a very distinct difference in maturity just because of all of the different missions he's been through, and so it makes him so much more interesting. And then what do they do in the season? They put him against his older self. So now it's a 5 versus a 5.
5 versus 5, right? And then they had all those rules,
right,
to try to keep back. I thought that was actually hilarious, but it was sort of weird, but it was funny. I do have to admit, it was different.
Yeah, it was on the line of in the line of what some of the things that happened in the show. So I thought it fit well, and it also made it a little kooky. That was done well.
Now there are a lot of characters from season 1 that they kind of brought back. So let's rate them to see if they did a good job of bringing them back or not. Let's start off with the minor one. They brought back Hazel, which was one of the 2 assassins that were hunting the Umbrella Academy, or 5 down in season 1. And if we left off, Hazel and Agnes kind of went back to the past. But in season 2, they brought back Hazel, but they didn't bring back Agnes. They kind of just mentioned, oh, she just died of cancer. What did you think how they handled that part?
Well, Mary J. Blige must be expensive.
Must have been, right?
I mean, that's an expensive cameo. I appreciated the quick cameo in the beginning, but I really didn't need to see much more of them if they weren't really going to be involved.
I was personally disappointed because I actually liked those 2.
They had a really good dynamic together.
They really are a good dynamic because I'll bring up because the new assassins that they brought up, the Swedes, the triplets, I didn't really like them. I cared nothing about them. I didn't think that they had the same kind of talent or the same type of humor.
Well, they didn't spend enough time they didn't give them personalities. Actually, that's really the problem. I mean, with them 2, you saw the relationship between them of years of working together, and then you saw him try to go off into his own relationship with the donut store owner, and so you really cared about them almost to the level of some of the main characters.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was poorly developed in itself, but I think they just had to add some kind of assassins to chase after them. Honestly, they could have just add new assassins with new heads or something like that.
Right. I also think that probably just having a Mary J. Blige on your cast, you have to pay a little bit more attention to it. You take advantage of it, and this time with some of these actors, especially if you're going to make them Swedes, you don't necessarily have the same. You don't need it. Plus, you already had so much more story to tell anyway.
So you mentioned multiple times the handler, played by Kate Walsh. They brought her back, despite the fact that we saw her getting shot and killed in season 1. And I thought in season 2 she had a similar devious role again, which I thought this time around it was even more clever. It's even bigger than what she actually wanted to do. And I thought that was actually a pretty good move because she was a likable villain in season 1, and in season 2 I think she remained a likable villain in
Right.
season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I didn't know whether to root for her or to root for the commission. Just, I mean, she has very well thought out plans, and she knows the inner workings of everything, and even knows how to kind of manipulate Five into doing what she wants. And as we see, she even has a new weapon that we hadn't seen in season 1 in Lila, and she implements everything really, really well. And if it's not for certain actions, she probably gets away with it.
That's right. And since you brought it up with Lila is sort of like this somewhat love interest to Diego, which I didn't feel it, but I like that twist towards the end of the season where they basically revealed who she really was. I mean, that was something, honestly, I did not see coming, and I thought the show did a terrific job with that twist on Lila's character, introducing her at the beginning, all the way to the end.
Her character was so good because I remember the first couple of episodes where Diego's
Asylum.
in the asylum. He's I thought she was just gonna be, she's just there as almost like an extra, and then once he gets out, she's gonna go do her own, like we're not gonna see her again. Then she gets out with him, and I was like, oh, just a kind of a side girlfriend, whatever, and we're not gonna see her again. Then she has these fighting skills, and then
the twist with the handler.
right, yeah, and then that was next.
And then the bigger twist at the conclusion and the last.
Yeah. And then there's still, so as we're going on, she's getting more and more interesting. And I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't she the crazy one in the beginning, and now she's a major player, and then we see where it ends up, and then not only does she have these abilities, and then who she is, and her connection to the Umbrella Academy, it was brilliant. I thought it was really well done for a character that you just really didn't see coming from the side, especially because you have so many other characters. I mean, just the siblings alone, just everybody else that came back, and then introduce a new character and be able to incorporate her little by little throughout the entire season to then get to that climatic moment. I thought they did a really good job with her, and I can't wait to see more of her, hopefully.
Well, it's not necessarily we're going to see more of her. You have to remember there's 35 more.
Yeah, no, I get it, but you got me hooked, so I like to see what they can do. But I mean, like we've mentioned with some of the other characters, this was such a Five-centric story that it'd be nice if going forward we see a little bit more of some of the other siblings, which I think one in particular I just won't mention it. There's one in particular who's a leader now of something, and that'll be interesting to see.
What do you think how they kind of introduced and changed the character Carmichael, who is the handler's boss? The guy with the fish tank as a head, because he's a different character in the comic books, and he was kind of like introduced and kind of quickly squashed at the same time. I thought he was an interesting character, but they didn't like make him last very long for me to have an opinion.
I thought he was kind of wasted, to be honest with you. I was expecting a little bit more from him, especially with the way he really took charge with the handler early on, and then just kind of him being the boss. I expected more from him, and then I didn't see a payoff from it, especially with Five kind of taking him hostage, and then the handler having him in a fishbowl. I thought there was going to be a little bit more to it, and it just kind of, like you said, just got squashed. I mean, what are you gonna do? I thought there was gonna be more, so it was a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess some of the original family members from the Umbrella Academy. Let's bring up Grace and Pogo.
Mm-hmm.
In its own way, they didn't technically bring Grace back or Pogo back. It's actually just their younger selves because this is back in the past. And I thought both of them were kind of underutilized, or at least the story-wise. They didn't really develop. I guess they kind of talked about Pogo a little bit, like where his origin story came from. But Grace, to me, didn't really make too much sense or made me care too much. And I think it kind of, those two characters were lost in season 2, where they were well developed in season 1. That's my opinion about those two characters.
I agree, because I mean, they're kind of in season 1 caretakers of the Umbrella Academy. That's quote unquote mom, and Pogo's really the one who holds it all together while when the dad's not there. I felt that if you took them out of season 2, you don't really lose anything. And maybe they could have taken that time in putting a little bit more behind maybe Carmichael, like we had just been talking about, or even in maybe a little bit more into Sir Reginald's background. But Pogo going into space and things like that. I think maybe having just a cameo of him where he kind of scratches was it 5? They scratch. I think that would have been fine and enough. And then same thing with Grace, of just kind of a quick glance from Diego would have been fine. I just don't think they fit very well in this season.
No. And finally, the last character was Sir Reginald, which you brought up a couple of times, which I thought he had a much bigger role, or his presence was a much bigger role in season 1. In season 2, I thought it was a missed opportunity to go really in deep detail about Sir Reginald, like his origins. And once again, all they did was just sort of throw hints. In fact, I think I just read an article, there's someone's theories that he's an alien from outer space and so on. I guess we'll never know the answers, because I think that season 2 totally missed the boat on introducing, because it was sort of like he's there, but he's not there, even though he's physically there much more in season 2. So, and I think it's like I mentioned before, I think there are just too many characters for them to play around with, and I think the side characters just didn't know what to do with it. And for Sir Reginald, I feel like the stuff that they were introducing in season 2, I don't think it matters anymore in season 3, because season 3 is going to take another right or left turn.
There's going to be a whole reset. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they take it to a point where it's going to be very interesting, especially after what when he decides to take out the Majestic 12, and then kind of has his little reveal. Then it's like, ooh, sir, like he's a whole different character than you thought he was, and then they hit the reset button. So, are we going to start all over? Is it going to be a whole different Sir Reginald? Is this the same one, and now we're going to maybe see a little bit more of it? Or now that we're back in present time, is he going to die in the beginning again, like in season 1? So I'll agree with you. It is definitely a missed opportunity. But I mean, unless you're going to cut out some of those other little parts, maybe cut out some of those scenes with Allison. That's probably something that can go. A little bit less on that relationship with Vanya, and then take that time and dedicate it to Sir Reginald's story. Maybe it would have made for a better season 2.
Excellent. And what did you like about the final episode? Because I thought the final combat was a little bit far-fetched. It was just utterly ridiculous in its own way. And I didn't mean like the combat between, the good versus evil. What I was referring to is that the evil transported like 1,000 assassins out of nowhere, and they just were completely useless Like
Right.
you have this huge army, and all of a sudden there's just like a flick of a finger. All of a sudden they just like all fall down, and it was like, then what's the purpose of all that? But I mean, obviously the combat it was exciting to me. I thought it was a good scene, but other than all the CGI assassins, it just didn't make any sense to
I agree with you. I thought that the individual battles throughout that final combat were done really, really well. That interaction between Lila and Allison when she's going to uh, and tell her something in her ear and she flips it on her. I was like, wait, what? What just happened? And then as she continues on with the next character and the next character, and then you start to realize about her abilities and what she's capable of. And then finally, you kind of get a little bit of a payoff between the conversation that Sir Reginald and Five had earlier in the season and how to take control of the situation. Maybe it's not this grand scheme that he needs where he's gonna need to get everybody back in the same. It's just a few minutes, and how he handles that and how that plays out. The only other thing I didn't like about it was it was kind of just thrown in there. I think the Swede coming in and trying to get revenge. I thought that was a bit unnecessary. And I mean, even if you cut down on all of the lackeys and the rest of the agents coming in, it still would have been, I think, better because it wouldn't have seemed as far fetched and it still would have looked cool.
me. Yeah. I think they could have just brought in like a dozen
Right. Yeah.
or something. They didn't need to like blanket the entire countryside and then
Yeah.
and then just like wait.
Briefcases everywhere.
Yeah, and just corpses everywhere. So I don't know. It was just it was different. And I do want to bring up one thing though. One of the best scenes in season 1, I thought it was the dance scene.
Most definitely.
Where everybody was dancing in their own individual room to a Tiffany song. I think We're Alone Now. Now, season 2, they did introduce a dance scene, but I believe only 3 characters danced to it, and it was I believe it's Twist and Shout or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
I felt it didn't have that same magical effect anymore, and I think they kind of forced it in there because everybody expected it, but I think that they just didn't know how to introduce it. So I think now the magic is lost with the second dance scene in the season 2. What do you think about that? Did you like it?
I kind of felt robbed by it because I had seen a couple of pieces. I know that we had some on, I think it was yours on LRM Online. They're talking about that they were going to bring back a dance sequence for the second season because of the popularity of the first season. With how good it was, I was expecting I was at least expecting it to be the full family. And when it was only them 3, I kind of started kidding myself like, no, this can't be it. This is just they're just doing it more because it was popular. And then as the season progressed, and it was like, no, that was it. That one, they just with them 3 in the salon, that that was the dancing. I felt a little robbed, and just because they hyped it up maybe just a little bit. I wanted to see the whole family getting on it. But I think with the first season, it just felt more important because everybody knew the song, and despite of whatever issues they were going through, this song was one that can bring them all together and have a moment of fun, of relaxation, and then connect them all. And in this case, it doesn't convey that.
Well, there was another dance scene in the first season, and that was with the 2 assassins where they were burning down the lab, and they were
yeah.
okay. I thought that was much more entertaining than the dance sequence in season 2 because those 2 guys, those 2 assassins were dancing in the lab and burning down the entire building. I thought that was actually pretty funny. So,
yeah, I agree. That's funny.
Well, let's start to wrap things up for ourselves. What are your predictions for season 3? Because I have a feeling they will greenlight season 3. I mean, how is Netflix going to say no to something like this?
No, I agree. I'm surprised they haven't greenlit it yet. Usually this is something that they would take care of pretty quick. But we're living in strange times, so things take a little bit longer. Definitely, as far as predictions go, I think we're going to see a family face-off, and I look forward to Justin H. Min's Ben to have a much more significant role in the upcoming season.
So you think Ben is coming back?
Well, in a way.
Because technically, he's gone at the end of the second season.
I mean, there's a new group of individuals.
Yeah, and I think the new group of individuals is part of the 35 we have yet to see. It's sort of my prediction is that they teleported in the future, and so Reginald has a different 6 or 7 kids that he's actually training.
Interesting. Just because if they switched the name, that's why I thought it was. That's why.
Yeah, because I don't think it's them. I think it's actually this is Steve Blackman's way of introducing more of those, the other 35 babies that we have yet to see, and that in season 3 they're probably going to introduce another group of Umbrella Academy people and possibly Umbrella Academy villains with power.
Oh man, that's a lot of character development.
and I do have to agree, it's going to be a lot of character development. I don't know how they're going to handle that. Hopefully he'll handle that carefully, because otherwise it's going to be a mess like X-Men or something like that.
Yeah, where it's just kind of nobody really got the camera time. They're just I will be interested to see how they handle 5 in the future season. Is he still going to be a focal point, or are they going to let some of the other characters kind of step into the light and shine a little bit more?
My personal feeling is that I think he had too much of the limelight in the first 2 seasons, and since they're back in the present and there's really no need for like time jumps anymore, hopefully they kind of like push him a little bit back burner and start to develop the other characters. But obviously I am actually glad that they're back in the future, because that means that that Sir Reginald is back, Pogo's back, and possibly Grace is back. So it could be a totally different future, or present, excuse me, that they're going to be experiencing through. So I think it'll be interesting. It's still a season that I am looking forward to watching. I was more anticipating season 2, but in season 3, I'm just glad that he's not doing an apocalypse, or at least that I know of.
That would that would be a little that would we need to take it in a different direction. But I think it'll focus more on either this other entity of super beings that he's taken under his wing in the future, versus the ones who just arrived, because technically they're the outsiders. And then also what? Go ahead.
No, and I'm just curious. Do you think Sir Reginald's an alien?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I've bought into that theory.
You bought into that theory? I don't think he's an alien. Otherwise he would have remembered them. I don't know. Who knows? They could write him in so many different directions for season 3. So at this point, so I guess we'll just keep on guessing.
Yeah, because by the end of the season, I even felt like they were not even in the right dimension. That's why I'm saying I thought it was maybe them, but in a different form. And
okay.
That's kind of my theory, because they're like, oh, damn, we're in the wrong future. And
that was like that's the. I don't know if do you have Hulu?
Yes, I do.
Have you ever watched Future Man?
No, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Future Man.
Okay, it's an awful show, but it's addicting.
Okay.
Okay. And it's all about time travel. And towards the final season, they discovered that it wasn't really time travel; that they're just jumping from parallel universes.
That's funny.
So it's very similar to the plot of Umbrella Academy. There's sort of like this agencies that's trying to prevent the guy from time traveling
Makes
because
sense.
it's just destroying the universe because of that. But then he realized like why he can't fix past and future problems is because technically he's not on the same timeline. He keeps on jumping into different universes. I mean, it is interesting, but to me it's like it's really kind of done before. But don't worry, I'm sure they could do it. It's because no one watched Future Man. But if you have a chance, I guess you could check it out and then or viewers could check it out and let us know on it. So let's wrap it up. What's your overall grade on this season 2 for Umbrella Academy?
Are we doing a number grade or are we doing a
letter grade? I know you pulled a Nancy with me last night because I was asking for a letter grade and she gave me a number.
Let me see. As far as the second season, I'm going to give it a minus.
An A minus. Wow. I must be a harsh critic. I'm actually going to give it a solid B because I think there needed to be more character development in its own way, but I still find it a little bit entertaining, but I didn't find it as addicting as season 1, where in season 1 I binged the whole thing in one sitting. In season 2 I kind of like binged maybe 2 or 3 episodes each. It didn't capture my attention, but it probably captured yours a lot better because obviously you're giving it an A minus.
Well, yeah, my A minus is really a 90.01. So I mean, it almost got a B plus. I did feel that it was a great continuation to season 2, and then it's also after a great story and a great introduction to some characters, especially Lila. I think that it's a great connecting for a future season.
So, since technically neither of us reviewed season 1, what grade you would have given season 1?
Season 1 gets a solid A. So
got a solid A. Yeah. See, I would have gave it an A minus for season 1. So I would give season 2 a lower grade, but it looks like you gave similar grades.
Yeah, I mean I've enjoyed both seasons. Just really minute differences. I just season 1 had a very, very clever way of making sure that all of the siblings got introduced, and in the second season we kind of know everybody, and it's just just going along for the ride, especially with 5.
That's right. Well, despite our grades, we both still recommend everyone to watch it, and the only reason why is because it's a lot better than a lot of the stuff that we have out there, especially on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
In another episode, we'll start reviewing all the other shows that are on Netflix. Hopefully, once some of us catch up on the shows. So until next time, folks, we'll see you guys on Binge Watch.